Yeah, we are dealing with demonic forces, not only in America, but throughout the Western world. We are seeing America and Europe being overrun, our Judeo-Christian tradition under serious assault by people who do not share our values. And to me, this is good versus evil. Do we want voices like Charlie Kirk out there speaking the truth, or are we going to let demonic forces silence us, even murder us? This is an awakening today, and I hope people wake up to what we're facing.
There's been sort of lurid predictions that America is descending into a civil war, not necessarily a violent one until you see scenes like today, but it's, the polarization of the debate is almost sort of gone too far. How do you see this playing out? I mean, in the darkest scenarios, this is going to escalate, is it not?
Look, I want to be very careful what I say right now, because this is very raw. We just found out within the last 15 minutes that one of my good friends and one of America's greatest leaders was assassinated. So for once in my life, I'm going to try to keep the rhetoric cooler than it normally would be.
Listen, tell me about your friend, tell me about your colleague, your fellow patriot. He was tipped as a future president, one of the most articulate people I've ever heard speak, gifted in a way with debate. Tell us about your friend.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk was by far the most talented and effective young political leader in America. He organized apathetic college students, millions of them, for many, many years, and engaged them and got them to get involved with politics and get involved with organizing. I did this. I'm 47 years old. I did this almost 30 years ago on college campuses. And I'll tell you, it is a very, very difficult job to get college students organized and motivated in politics, let alone conservative politics. And Charlie Kirk was the master at this because he had such a winning personality. He welcomed all sides to debate. He had firm Christian convictions, but he did not try to shun anyone. He welcomed all sides to the debate. He inspired young people. That is very hard to do. That is a once in a generation, maybe once in a lifetime talents that we saw in Charlie Kirk, and maybe, just maybe, that's why he was assassinated today.
Yeah, no, Turning Point is an astonishing organisation, 650,000 conservative members on campuses in a world where being a conservative on a campus is not a good place to be at times. Why do you think he was so successful in recruiting people to his cause, and why are so many young people now turning their backs on liberalism?
Yeah, I think that Charlie was very successful because he showed conservative students there was a place for them. Young people, there was a place for them. They weren't the pariahs. They didn't have to worry about getting canceled and bullied by the woke left on college campuses. He showed, I saw this on campus when I was at the University of Iowa almost 30 years ago. It's a very liberal school, and I was a loudmouth conservative then, but it takes bold and fearless leaders like Charlie Kirk to show other conservatives that it's okay to step out. It's okay to debate. It's okay to speak up in class. It's okay to debate in a civilized, respectful way with your liberal classmates. And Charlie Kirk was the master at this. He proved it over and over, year after year, campus after campus, through his Turning Point organization, a revolutionary organization for good in this country.
And surely all likelihood, and we can only hope, that the assassin's bullet creates thousands more Charlie Kirks like him. What comes next for you? President Trump has obviously commented most of the senior figures in the US government seem to have known Charlie. He obviously helped campaign mobilize tens of thousands of activists last year for Trump's victory. How would you like to see his legacy remembered?
I want his legacy to be that every young college student, every young person who was engaged in Turning Point redoubles their efforts after Charlie Kirk's assassination. We cannot let him die in vain. People need to carry the torch forward. Charlie Kirk built a huge organization, and the turning point is not going away. We're not going to let that happen.
So broadly, the level of debate in this country at the moment, look at the horrific murder of Irina Zarasutska, the 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee on a train. It seems that these horrific incidents are all automatically polarized down political lines. How do we get away from that? And how do we step back from that?
Yeah, Look, I want to be careful with my rhetoric today because this is very raw and I'm very angry. But I would say this: there are people on the Marxist left who think that this political violence is acceptable, and it's not acceptable. And they are going to be hunted down by federal law enforcement, and they're going to be thrown in federal prison. And I know Pam Bondi, our Attorney General, very well. I know Todd Blanche, our Deputy Attorney General. I know Kash Patel, our FBI Director, Dan Bongino, Chad Mizell, the Chief of Staff. This left-wing political violence is going to end, and it's going to end right now because it is not acceptable. It's not going to be accepted, and anyone who thinks they're going to get away with this are badly mistaken. They are going to go to prison for a very long time.
I hope so. It seems that conservative thought leaders are now under siege, though, across the country. It could be literally putting lives on the line for speaking out the truth. I suppose the question, you've been on the front line of this campaign, and I appreciate the rawness, and we can keep the rhetoric down. But how have we got to this stage? Where did we go wrong as the West, as countries, as liberal democracies, that cancel culture starts with people being stopped from giving speeches to people being shot, debating literally in the equivalent of a town square?
Because today's Democrat Party is not our parents' or grandparents' Democrat Party. These are not liberals who love America and just disagree with conservatives on the best way to get there. These are leftist. These are Marxist. They do not support free speech. They hate free speech. They push censorship. They do not believe in equality. They believe in equity. They do not believe in due process and equal protection of the law. They believe in politicized and weaponized law enforcement to take out your political enemies. They don't even believe in the human dignity, the right to live as a human being. They want to butcher kids in the womb. They want to send kids to get mutilated through this gender-affirming care. They have no problem assassinating political opponents. We just saw that today with Charlie Kirk. I mean, we are in a very dangerous place as a country. And quite frankly, I put this squarely on the doorstep of today's Marxist Democrat Party with this leftist, hateful, violent ideology and their violent coalition.
I appreciate your passion, sir. I really do. President Trump, again, another person who and knew Charlie well. He all but announced his murder on Truth Social, as you say, just about 25 minutes ago. Now, how do you think the president is feeling now, and how will he step up to this moment? What do you expect the president to do in a moment of national tragedy?
I have not spoken to the president about this, but I know that the president thought very, very highly of Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk was a very good man. He was a young husband, had a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful kids. He was a great father. He was a great Christian. He fought every day for our American ideals, for our constitutional ideals. Just a very good person, and I know that the president's Truth post was very heartfelt.
It does seem that it's a moment, though. I think something needs to give. something has to change. Is this the moment that, as you say, liberal rage on the streets turns into anarchy? How as a nation, how does President Trump, as a leader, bring this country that is obviously so polarized together? This is a time to step up, and almost in a way that he did it after Butler. How would you advise him to bring the country together tonight as it reels in the horror of this moment?
Starting about 5 years ago, during the BLM riots, we saw the Democrat Party push their politics of violence, where they think it's acceptable to be violent in the name of social justice. That is unacceptable. They wanted to defund the police. They burned down our cities, burn, loot, murder, BLM. And for 5 years, we've walked on eggshells to try to address this. What we need to do as a country is return to law and order. And if you are a violent criminal in this country, you're not going to get a social worker sent to you. You're going to have a law enforcement officer come arrest you and throw your ass in prison. And that is where we need to go back to as a country. And BLM and all these left-wing radical activists can go to hell.
How much would you put onto the media? I mean, there's been a growing row over the fact that there's been almost silence over that horrific murder we mentioned earlier in Charlotte, and actually until the president himself was made aware of it. I think it was on Sunday on the tarmac of New York when he was first asked about it. He said he'd be briefed and then showed the pictures. And now that horrific story is at the centre of public attention in a way that it just wasn't. Why are some stories, why are some murders, and why are some crimes, deemed not worthy of discussing until the media are forced to?
Because today's Marxist left is their whole goal is to divide and conquer our country. They are a subversive force because they hate America, they hate the West, they hate Europe, they hate Israel, they hate our Judeo-Christian tradition, and these Marxists are trying to destroy us from within. And the best way to do that is to open our border, flood our country with people who hate us, like Islamists who hate America and Europe, and then they want to exacerbate racial problems. They want to stir up violence among the violent black underclass. And I know I get in trouble when I say that, but I mean it and I don't give a damn. And then they want to coddle these criminal elements. And guess who that hurts the worst? The violent black underclass hurts hardworking, law-abiding black people stuck in these crime-ridden hellhole neighborhoods that these Democrats run. We have to wake up as a country. We need to stop coddling the left. We have to stop playing by the left's rules. We have to stop being scared that we're going to be called racist or sexist or xenophobe or transphobe or whatever phobe the Democrats want to throw at us. We need to go back to the fact that we are one country. We believe in equality under the law. We believe in due process under the law. We believe in equal opportunity under the law. And we're not going to be divided by the Marxist left.
Mike, I know this interview has been scheduled for a couple of weeks now. We were going to talk about a whole range of subjects, from free speech to actually political silencing to crime. It doesn't feel like it's the day for that today, given the sad news. But I hope you will come back and see us again soon, where we can talk about some of the more issues that seem a little blasé today when we've lost such a powerful figure as Charlie Kirk. But just before I go, just on that subject, tell us a little bit about how you are leading this fight back, what levers you are using, your legal work, your campaign work, and how that will carry on. But I promise you, we'll have a proper chat again on a better day, I suppose.
Yeah, and I'm a little fired up, so I apologize for that. But I would say this, the Article 3 project worked very closely with Charlie Kirk and his team at Turning Point. They are a phenomenal organization at Turning Point. We will continue to work with Turning Point. We will continue to carry the torch for Charlie Kirk. We're not going away. I'm doing public speeches every day that I can. I'm going to do one on Saturday. And there's no way that I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing, and I'm encouraging other conservatives. There's no way you should stop doing what you're doing because of today's assassin's bullet with Charlie Kirk. We have to continue on because the left is trying to destroy our country and the West, and we're not going to let it happen.
Mike Davis, fitting tribute there to a friend. I'm sorry for your loss, and thank you for taking time out to talk to us on what is a sad and horrible day for you there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.